I just want you guys to see the perspective and the power and the importance of your subconscious mind and the thoughts that you are putting into your head on a daily basis, because your inner world becomes your outer world. Everything that you put in there is what's going to be reflected back towards you. Hello everyone, welcome back. It's Deirdre, and today we're talking about this book that I read called The Power of the Subconscious Mind by Joseph Murphy. I really want to dive into, I was just about to say, like literally the power of your subconscious mind and how you can have it work for you, and how you can realize that that's the thing you need to be targeting when you're trying to make the changes in your life, when you're trying to break those bad habits, when you're trying to reach success, when you're trying to change your relationships with money, your relationships with love, your relationships with your confidence and worthiness. This is the book that's going to tell you what you should be targeting and methods to do that. So I'm here. So if you don't want to read it, we can just do a little synopsis. I just want to give you all the meat, all the important pieces of the book, and talk about how we can use this to change our lives, because it is part 3 of episode 1 in this series. Part 1 is our blueprint for success, how we are going to go about changing those areas of our lives which need to be changed, and just our mentality on life. I think reading this book, which I'll get into a little bit later, has shown me how much our society as a whole is due to our own minds, like our own realities. I think we are all living our own ideas of reality, and it's intermingling, and you see the chaos of that, you see the harmony of that in some areas, but the lack of harmony of it is due to basically this whole topic. So let's hop right into it. The first thing that Joseph Murphy talks about in this book is literally what is the subconscious versus conscious mind. To put it simply, the conscious is the rational mind, the subconscious is the irrational mind. So to break that down more, the conscious mind is the reasoning mind, the logical mind, the one that makes the decisions. The subconscious mind accepts what's been impressed upon it. It doesn't argue, it just believes what conscious thoughts are fed to it. And don't get me wrong, like, you can say, oh, your subconscious thoughts you can't control, but you can control that through your conscious thoughts. For a period of our lives, we grow up not really controlling what's deposited. Basically, I think they say in psychology, you have like a 95% chance of ending up in the same areas that your parents ended up in, because whatever you were taught up until, 18, before you're really on your own, whatever's been impressed upon you is your thoughts and ideas about life, what it should be about yourself. That's given to you a lot of the times, and then you have to work from there to unlearn those things if necessary. Or if you did have a good mentality from your parents being raised, that shows through how your life turns out. For example, there has been some hypnotic experiments done that show that the subconscious mind cannot make a decision on its own, that it will only do so once a suggestion is provided. That's why subliminal thoughts have become such a big thing. That's why in marketing, when I was in college, we saw so many tactics that were used. There would be subliminal things, like on, let's say you're going to shop on a website. They would subliminally like flash like little smiley faces or little icons that would affect your subconscious mind and lead you towards buying a product. But it would be so fast that you wouldn't see it personally, but they know how that acts on the mind. Even within like Trump's first initial campaign for presidency, he spent so much money hiring a psychologist that would market intently enough, because they know people in the government, people in high spaces understand the effect of psychological conditioning and how that's been used on society so often in order to get a certain result. I just want you guys to see the perspective and the power and the importance of your subconscious mind and the thoughts that you are putting into your head on a daily basis, because your inner world becomes your outer world. Everything that you put in there is what's going to be reflected back towards you. Let's look at the health side of the subconscious mind. He talks about how your subconscious mind is literally in control of all of your regulations in your body. It turns your food into energy. It pumps your heart. It's what helps you breathe without you knowing it. You think about your subconscious mind and it's the powerhouse of your body. You know what I mean? This may be taking it a little far, but in my mind, your subconscious mind is God. Your subconscious mind is what's bringing you life. Your subconscious mind is what brings you intuitive thoughts and leads you into different directions in life. Your subconscious mind is what tries to save you. It's like always towards life, if that makes sense. But I hope that within that you see that subconscious mind is a part of you. It is you. Connect the dots. One example of the power of the subconscious is surgery. Think about back in the day when anesthesia didn't exist. Do you think that everyone was always just feeling all that pain? I think in a lot of places they were. Surgery without anesthesia just had to be done. But there was a Scotch surgeon named James Essedile who performed over 400 surgeries on patients that experienced no pain. This was between the years of 1843 and 1846. Amputations, tumors, eye and ear surgeries, all done under mental anesthesia. These patients were said to have experienced no pain, where his mortality rate was only 2 to 3% within his patients. He was giving them suggestions to their subconscious mind for them to not feel the pain, and it was working clearly. I mean, you can only take that with a grain of salt. If you don't want to believe it, you don't, but it's history. You decide what you want and don't want to believe. When the book first said the subconscious mind's tendency is toward health in its life word, a part of me was like, no, I don't know if that's true, because you just think about how many subconscious thoughts exist in our heads that are negative, that we have to battle on a daily basis, but we have to realize that that's only after it's been impressed upon. And when you think about the subconscious things that your body does, keeping you alive on a daily basis, we are healers. Our bodies heal ourselves, no matter how long it takes. It's always in the process of cell reformation. Now let's jump into a big portion of this, which is going to help us change our own lives. That is visualization. Visualization and imagination are the key to getting to where you want to be in life. I want to share a few methods and techniques that I will actually be testing for the next 2 months straight every day and seeing how they affect my life. Testing them for y'all so you can see what works best for me, but also I want you guys to try them too. It would be really cool to see the effects of different methods. So let's just go through them real quick. The movie method, the Badoine method, or the Badoine technique, the sleeping method, the affirmation method, the thank you method, the argumentative method. There's one more that I'm forgetting, but what I want to focus on are 3 methods, which is going to be the movie method, the Badoine technique, and the affirmative method. The movie method is essentially you sitting there and imagining a movie of what you want your life to be. You're going to sit there, get in a relaxed state, and play that mental movie in your head. You want to go through the details. For me, one of my big goals is to become a full-time food blogger and YouTuber. That means my mental movie is going to be me throwing a party, me throwing an event that is celebrating that success. Me at the event, talking to people congratulating me and, saying how proud they are, and me maybe giving a speech about everything and just existing in that event as the success has happened. Me visualizing the team that I'm building now that I have created this business for myself. Me imagining the work and the consistency that happened along the way. Those are the things within the mental movie that I'm going to be replaying to myself. That's the first method. That's what I will be doing for the next 60 days. I will be marking it off, and I will come back in 2 months. What's that from now? 120. So March 20th, 2025, I will show you my results. The second one is the Badoine technique. This book harps on the fact that the best way to impress your subconscious mind is to do it when you are in a drowsy state, when you are on the verge of going to sleep, when you are in a space where you can almost be hypnotized into those thoughts and feelings that you want to have, and also to be relaxed within that. For this one, you want a short statement that can sum up your manifestation. And this brief phrase you are going to repeat over and over and over again while you are on your way to sleep every night. So for this one, in my last video, by the way, if you haven't watched part 1 or part 2 to this episode, please go back and check it out. We talk about creating a schedule and just preparing yourself for the habits you want to get rid of and the habits you want to create. Doing so in an organized fashion. So for me, one of my biggest habits that I'm struggling with is my time management, my sleep schedule, and just getting everything that I want done. So every night before bed, my statement is going to be, I wake up early, energized, revitalized, wealthy, abundant, peaceful, and joyful. And I'm going to write that shit on a sticky note next to my bed, because You think I'm going to memorize that? I mean, eventually I will by 60 days, but I put a lot of words in there, but make it short enough to where you can easily say it in one sentence. So every night I'm just going to repeat that to myself as I fall asleep, so that when I wake up in the morning, that's there. Because you can give your subconscious mind, your dream life tasks when you go to sleep. And there are plenty of famous inventors who have said in the past that their answers to questions that they've needed have come in a dream. They asked their subconscious mind. They just asked themselves intuitively, like, please show me the answer to this. They let it go with calmness, and they assumed that it would come, and it did. And the last method I mentioned is the affirmative method. This method is the one where you are already being grateful for what you've been given. And I think gratefulness is so important when it comes to the things you desire, because if you're not grateful for what you have already, why do you expect to get more? Like, oh, you don't even like what you have? Okay, then I'm not giving you anything else. If you don't have enough, sure, but recognize what you do have and feel grateful for it. So, as you can see, I'm kind of touching different areas of my life with these affirmations that are going to lead to the biggest movie method affirmation that I have of becoming a full-time entrepreneur is, thank you for my integrity, discipline, and consistency. And this is one that you are going to wake up every morning and tell yourself. You're going to wake up grateful. You're going to wake up in a state that's going to lead to a positive rest of your day. So those are my 3 methods. The argumentative method, I think, was another one which consisted of you like banishing your negative thoughts, you banishing those negative beliefs that you had in the past. But I will put out the argumentative and absolute method on the side, which were the other 2 they mentioned in this book, if you want to test those out too. So we talked about the visualization and imagination needed to get to where you want, but you might be wondering why you failed in the past, why you haven't been successful with your previous affirmations or your previous attempts to get to where you want to be in life. This was good for me too, because I wondered the same thing. I briefly mentioned this in my first episode, but sometimes you look at what other people do and you think you can just copy that blueprint 100%, but you have to realize sometimes things that work for someone else is not going to work for you. So I figured it was time for me to really do a deep dive and do the research myself. Joseph Murphy talks about the reasons for you failing is probably lack of confidence, too much effort, lack of a clear vision of where you're going, and envy and jealousy. Lack of confidence and not having a vision of where you're going is probably one and the same, because why would you have confidence if you had no idea where you were going? You need to get clear on what you want, because your mind, specifically your subconscious mind, does not do well with confusion. Who is a famous psychologist from France, says, when your desires and your imagination are in conflict, your imagination invariably gains the day. You need to get clear on what you want, because confusion will just bring you stagnancy. Once you actually make up your mind, you have the plan, do the work, then let go, and rest in the sense that your desires are already yours. More and more we can understand and see that your mind does not know the difference between thoughts and reality. If you can see it, you can have it. Think of it like your subconscious mind being blind to what's in front of you. It cannot see the reality that you're living right now, the reality that you're experiencing. It only feeds into what you are telling it. So you have to be as blind to what you don't want as your mind is. So you can only feed it what you want to be experiencing. So let's go back and touch on the affirmations that might not have worked for you in the past. And let's talk a little bit about wealth too. And how our subconscious mind is going to help us get to where we want to be when it comes to our money. You are not going to become a millionaire by saying, I am a millionaire. But I'm not saying that's not important, because you are still building the mentality that you can be one. The problem is that any affirmation that contradicts your current belief will lead to confusion and possibly worsen the issue. It will fail because your dominant belief will prevail. So instead, a method to get around that is to focus on the words. There's no inner conflict when you are just dwelling on the word wealth and success, because you're not fighting anything when you're saying that. You're just embodying wealth and success when you say those things. But you're not thinking of it as, I am wealthy, I am successful, and your mind now has an opportunity to say, no, you're not. So repeating those statements, wealth, success, joy, peace, harmony, will bring a better result than an I am affirmation that doesn't closely align with where you already are in life. Another example that he gave in the book to get around that is saying, by day and by night, I am being prospered in all my interests. Because on the other hand, you may be saying something, affirming yourself something for 20 minutes, but immediately after you let the fear and you let the negative affirmations take over, and that essentially diminishes all the work that you just did. Jealousy part, the envy. Don't condemn the things that you want. A lot of the times people will be jealous and envious of others simply because they have what they want. But when you do that, you are saying that person doesn't deserve that and neither do I. Why are you doing that? Don't be jealous of what they have if it's something you want. Say it in a sense of, oh, wow, this is great for them. Can't wait for that to happen to me. I hope everyone else prospers around me. I hope that they continue to get more. I hope that they are living an abundant life because I also want to live an abundant life. And if they deserve it, then I know I also deserve it. Another main point is if you don't know what path you want to take in life, meditate on what path to take in life. Figure it out by giving that task to your subconscious mind. Say, what path should I be taking in life? When you go to bed, see if your dreams come with the answers to you. See if you receive an intuitive thought randomly, but know that it's your intuition versus anxiety when it comes to you in a calm, clear manner. That's how I usually tell the difference. If you are coming up with a solution that is like out of a anxiety-filled, scarcity-filled moment, then you know that that's probably not my intuition telling me what's best for me. Success. You want to have success. We talked about wealth. We talked about visualization. What about success in general? What does it mean to be successful and how can we manifest that? In almost any success story I hear, you see that sustained imagination is the key to getting them to where they want it to be. Maybe it took 5 years, maybe it took 6 years, but they continued to imagine that version of themselves. They continued to imagine themselves in the position of success for what that meant to them. They imagined themselves in the position of being that famous artist, of being that real estate agent. They continued to have this faith and belief in themselves no matter the circumstance and no matter how long it took because they knew it was coming to fruition. So they never stopped going on that path. Imagine what you would do if the thing you want was completed, if you had it. Know that internally, the external follows the internal. So until you are thinking and feeling like that successful, confident version of yourself, you won't start acting like it. One thing that I do want to do a little bit more research on, because they talk about it throughout this whole book, is being in a relaxed state. In every chapter, basically, they say, do this in a relaxed state, do this in a calm state, do this in a stress-free manner. And I think it's so important, as I've seen briefly on other websites and articles, it's like your nervous system and the calmness of your nervous system when you do things. I think that aligns so much with like the peace that you want to experience in your life. When you think about the desires you have in your life, like a stable income, like having a home, losing that weight, learning that skill, what is the feeling that you plan on getting once you achieve that thing? Start feeling that way now. When it came to me being so overwhelmed and stressed about money, my situation just got worse. I stopped because I was feeding into that reality that I didn't want to exist in anymore. Because I imagine as a rich, wealthy person, that's going to bring more peace, more stress-free, more calm. So I'm going to act that way now. I think that also helps make sure that what you are looking for is going to bring you that feeling. It's not the money that brings the feeling. Do you know what I mean? To feel wealthy is probably to feel peaceful, to feel stress-free. And a lot of the times people have money and they do not feel that way. So I want to make sure that that is the feeling that I'm chasing. And I'm not just chasing a dollar amount that doesn't really have anything to do with my personal joy and happiness in life. One of the last chapters of this book talks about collective subconscious thought. And this was like very profound to me because I am very much a person who is about the collective, about community, and about wanting everyone to have and live better lives. And, I don't know. I just want everyone to live their best lives because so many people are not. There's so much injustice in the world. We're not going to get into it right now. But the point is, this book said specifically, it quoted, "The future of a country is based on the subconscious of that nation." I don't think people understand how important your personal mind and mentality is and how that influences the people around you, how that affects society as a whole. Because if they did, we would see a whole different type of world, in my opinion. Like, for example, when people feel like our future is predestined, when people feel like they don't have any power to change what is coming, then that compounded upon most of a nation or most of a society allows the people that know that they do have the power to change that to do it. And if that happens to be a solely negative group of people, then that's going to be what prevails upon the nation. because others are just idly believing they don't have control of that, and that whatever's coming to them is supposed to be coming to them. And that's just not true in my mind. And I think everyone should feel more powerful and more in the mentality that they can change their lives and the lives around them. We give our power away to other people so much, and it really needs to stop, because we wonder why the world looks the way it does. We can sit idly by and say, that's not my doing. Sure, I'm not saying it's your fault, but you're telling yourself that you can't do anything to change it, and that is not true. The mentality goes further than politics or political agendas, but just how we see ourselves, how we see our own worthiness, how we see the values that we uphold as being important in life, and that becomes the values of a country. I think the lack of harmony that we see in our own country and those around us heavily has to do with the lack of inner harmony people have with their own selves. The book says tomorrow's events are in your subconscious mind, but nothing is predestined, because how you think and feel will determine your future. The last thing I want to touch on is habits, bad habits, because the subconscious mind is literally the reason why you have them. It is so conditioned, it's so used to these things that you do on a daily basis, and it becomes hard to stop it. The book says fear is a thought in your mind, and you are paralyzed by your own thoughts. You are making your fear as real as if it happened, as if it's there, as if it's reality, or it's happened in the past, and now you have this fear that's blocking your future. Do the thing you fear, and death of fear is certain. It doesn't even have to be the fear associated with what's holding you back. Any fear that you have in life doesn't have to be with what you want to pursue. It's going to start breaking the fear mentality that you may have. If we can be negatively programmed all day and night, then we can be positively programmed. When those negative, bad habits rear their ass in, you have to envision and remember the future self that you want, because that desire of wanting that change, the other side of that has to be so much more of a desire than where you're at right now. Throughout this whole book, reading this, you can understand and see and be like, oh my gosh, it makes so much sense. Oh my gosh, I understand. Oh my gosh, I'm going to do it, and it's going to work. But you have to realize that if you are a 30-year-old and you've been the unconfident version of yourself, the unsuccessful version of yourself, the fearful and boundaryless version of yourself for 15 years, this is not going to happen in one day. Expect the pushback to get rid of those mentalities to be strong compared to if you were starting this growth at 20 years old. But regardless, we have been ingrained with certain things that are going to take time to change. It doesn't mean it's not possible, but you're going to have the consistency and the discipline to continuously fight those thoughts until the ones you want to have are truly ingrained in your mind. So I highly recommend this book, but I hope that I've given you a lot of the good points, the good, nuggets of information. And I am excited to see you guys next week with a little motivational talk, So I gotta get out of here because I literally have to be in work in like 5 minutes. Wherever you're at, whatever time it is, good morning, good evening, good night. Love ya. Goodbye.